All right, fellas, what's going on? Denonu here, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And in this video here, we're going to be talking about E3 and Sony's presentation. And I can't really call it a presentation, only because they didn't really present anything. I guess they were trying a new presentation style, I guess you can say. And they just kind of just started out with trailers and then kept the ball going. Typically, most conferences, I'm assuming they're made by businessmen, because if you look at, let's say, like Microsoft's conference, for example, and E3 in the past, years and years and years, it's like a by the numbers type thing. It doesn't feel natural at all. None of the conferences do. It's just guys that come out on stage, they talk a bunch of marketing lingo and jargon, and try to get whatever point, or whatever concept across. It's definitely not made by somebody who is good at, let's say, presenting or public speaking. Because there's a big difference between, let's say, people who just get up on stage and just talk like they're reading from a billboard, which is what most most presenters do at E3, than somebody who is, let's say, in like a social conference talking about like how to pick up women or something like that. There's like a big difference between your delivery, is what I'm trying to say. And I guess Sony this year, they was like, okay, well, we're trying to be different with our style. We don't want to be, by the numbers like we've been doing. So this time they didn't really have people come out on stage and talk. They kind of started out with showing a couple trailers, and then they jumped into VR, and then they came out there and said, oh yeah, we're doing this, whatever, but here's more trailers and here's more games. And then they finished off with a lot of the heavy hitter games. I liked it better that way because it's focusing on the games. However, where I have to knock Sony for it is I wish that they'd, and maybe this is their problem, I wish that they'd have kind of jumped more into like, okay, we know Microsoft has, their new system out, but we don't have to make a new system. We need to focus on, the games. If they'd have got that concept across in their presentation, I wouldn't mind it so much. I like it better this way. But at the same time, it's like you had Microsoft come out with a new console. I'm not saying you got to come out with a new console yourself, but at least, make your point of the whole conference be like, you know what? We're in a position where we don't have to come out with a new console. We're just focusing on games. And if they'd have made that like the bottom line, like we're focusing on games, then I think the audience wouldn't have been left, kind of hanging, because everybody who's seen Sony's presentation was like, okay, yeah, these games are good, but they didn't drive the point home. It feels like at the end of the day, like, at the end of their conference, they displayed Spider-Man, and I'll get to the games in a second. But it's like Spider-Man is great. Don't get me wrong. I love Spider-Man games. But it wasn't big enough. It didn't have enough of that wow factor that they needed. Like if they'd have came out there and, let's say, after Spider-Man, you dropped like The Last of Us 2, something to just shit on Microsoft, then I wouldn't be as mad. But it just kind of, Sony, just like Microsoft to me this year, they just felt kind of flaccid. That's the only word I can describe. It's like it's kind of good, but at the same time, it just feels like something's missing. And that's the impression that I got left after watching it. The presentation itself was damn good. I will say that. Like I was comparing it because I seen Microsoft's first and then Sony's. I watched them after the fact, and I was comparing the different presentation styles. Like Sony went all in with like the immersion. Like you had like God of War, and you had like snow in the trailer, so they had like little particulates above the crowd, or with the lights making it seem like snow was falling on you and all that kind of sort of shit. And then you had like, I think you had, what was that one zombie game they had? You had people dressed up in like skin suits and stuff hanging from the ceiling like they were, people that were hung from a ceiling or something like that. It was they did their damn thing when it came to presentation. Maybe that's what they were going for. That's as a viewer, that's what I would assume that they were going for, you know. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it would have been great if they'd have just put the cherry on top of the, you know, the cream pie of just something, you know, just something to get you excited about, you know, Sony and their direction of what they're going in. Because it's like they just didn't have anything at E3. And maybe they're saving it. Maybe they feel like, and this is what I think, and I think that they're saving whatever it is that they have for down the road. I think that going into E3, they knew that, okay, everybody knew Microsoft's coming out with the, you know, with their new console, right? Sony is in a position now with the market where they pretty much own the market, as far as you know, Microsoft can come out with 2 new consoles, and it's still not gonna, you know, make them come back in sales. They're not gonna dominate PlayStation this generation. That's just the way it is. And I think Sony is getting a little bit too comfortable with being in that top #1 spot, where it's like, oh, you know what, we don't even got to go to E3 like that. You know what I'm saying? We could come with the big stuff, but it's just Xbox. We don't got to deal with that. You know, that's the mentality that, you know, that I think they're in, where it's like they showed up, but it's like they only showed you stuff that pretty much you already saw before, like last E3. They didn't really hit you with, like, you know, they didn't come correct with the thunder, you know, you know, so to speak. And I think that they're, because I think that they have their own conference later on in the year, and I think that they're saving whatever big guns that they would have had at E3. I think they're saving them for that. So, but as far as the games go, Sony's on point. I mean, there's nothing I can say. I wish I would have saw The Last of Us 2. You know, or like Bloodborne 2 or something like that, you know, something that really drives home like the PlayStation brand. But like I said before, in all honesty, they don't have to bring the big guns. Nice. They own the market. They could do whatever they want. They didn't even have to show up at E3. I mean, they could have just like came in with a sign that just said Sony and just left. We're here. You know, that's about it. Because I mean, they got the exclusives. Like I said in my Microsoft one, Microsoft, wow, so they're extra stuff in a shitty position. They can try to come out of it, don't get me wrong, but it's going to take them a year, year and a half, 2 years for them to build up some exclusives, to make some games, or to make deals happen, exchange money to put things on their platform. They got to build that confidence in the Xbox brand back up. They're not there yet. Even with a new system, it's not going to be there. Sony already has that this generation. They don't have to do nothing. So I think that they just came in and they was like, look, we, you know, here are some games that we already got. Like I said, they displayed Spider-Man, which was looking damn good at the end. Being somebody who's followed Spider-Man comic books since I was like, what, 10? I only just recently fell out of Spider-Man with One More Day, Brand New Day, with that whole BS that Marvel did with his character. But I've still followed the books. I still know all the characters. I was watching the presentation. I think I was watching like IGN's video of it, or it may have been GameSpot. I can't remember which one it was, but they was like, "Oh, I don't know none of these characters. Like, who is this guy?" He's like, "Is he like?" I was like, "Oh, why?" And the first thought when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, why in these presentations do they always have people who don't know what the hell they're talking about?" Like, like it was like, oh, I think this guy's from this, and this. As soon as I seen the guy, I was like, oh, that's Mr. Negative.
So what are you using?
Know exactly who his character is, know exactly what he's about. And it's like the people, I'm not saying that you have to know them, but it's like, come on, at least if you know something's going to be, you know, presented, read up about the shit. That's what I do. You know, make it seem like I know what I'm talking about, YouTube. But still, like I said, Spider-Man was looking damn good. Animations were on point. I will say that. They kind of went with the whole Arkham thing, which has been done in the past with earlier Spider-Man games. I'm not knocking it. It looks a little bit more polished. The Arkham feel, at least in Spider-Man, they tend to always do the same thing where it's like Arkham and, you know, his spider sense go off and you hit a button to dodge. To me, as a hardcore gamer, that's simplistic combat. Even in Arkham, it was still simplistic. I've never been like a fan of that 100% because I like manually doing everything. Take it. If I had to throw a game out there, like the old school Devil May Cry games, I can't say the new one, but the old one, Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3, and I guess you could say 4. But those games you had to manually do everything. If you wanted Dante to swing his sword, you had to press the button every time he swung his sword. You had to manually dodge everything. You had to. I like games like that because they played to my skill level. Whereas Spider-Man, and ever since Arkham came out, and and other games started picking up on that system, it just feels like it's simplistic. It's like mash, triangle, 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 triangle. Oh, press X to dodge, and like that's it. That's all the combat. And maybe you have circle to throw out webs and stuff like that. I'm hoping with this one that they kind of step that up a little bit because it feels kind of simplistic. I think the last Spider-Man game to me that had great combos and stuff in it, what was it called? Edge of Time was okay. I want to say, was it Shattered Dimensions?
Well, but see, there are sets for that.
I don't think it was Shattered Dimensions because I think I played like halfway through that one and that one turned me off. There was another Spider-Man game either before or after Edge of Time where and I can't think of the subtitle to it, but I remember in the Spider-Man game, you were Spider-Man fighting on the side of buildings, and he was throwing like DBZ punches at people, where you had like 50, 100 hit combos on people, and you had like different Devil May Cry type combos, but they was a little bit simpler than that. But I love the combat in that game because it was all manual. I wish that they would go back to that, but they probably not since everybody loves the Arkham games and all that bullshit. But Spider-Man game is looking pretty good. I'm glad to see them using Mr. Negative and other characters and stuff that you don't really see in Spider-Man games. He's a newer villain. He only popped up in the past few years when it comes to comics. So I'm glad that they're kind of, doing their own thing with the story and pulling in other characters that you wouldn't necessarily normally see from Spider-Man.
I like the roles on it.
Web slinging looked okay, but I don't know if that was just gameplay or if that was like a scripted event type thing. I would rather have them, demoed like the open world aspect, even if it is going to be like that way. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be a linear type experience, and which I'm not opposed to that, but it's just Spider-Man games have always had that freedom, or most of them did, unless you count the really, really old ones from Activision, like with Spider-Man 1 and 2, but most of the ones ever since they made, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, ever since then going forward, most of the Spider-Man games are open world, where you can run around New York, solve crimes, go through all of that. I'm kind of hoping that they kind of stick with that, but if they wanted to do like a linear game, that gives them more freedom to tell the story how they want it. So, to me personally, I'm a big fan of story first, then gameplay. So if they can tell a great story, then I'm all for it. Like the last time that the studio did that was, I think, the past few Spider-Man games, like with Edge of Time. A lot of people didn't like Edge of Time, but being a fan of Spider-Man 2099 and of the original Spider-Man, I loved the hell out of that game. And that was a linear based experience. So, I mean, if they can, do the same thing and make a unique story unto their own, which they're known to do, I think Spider-Man is going to be a great game this year. It's going to probably be the biggest game on Sony's plate, probably outside of God of War, and I think they got like an Uncharted spin-off game coming out. That looks to be decent too. I'm probably going to pick that up. But those will probably be the biggest heavy hitters that they got. Probably until, Last of Us 2 comes out, and that's going to just dominate every damn thing. But you have the Uncharted game. That looks pretty good. I think this one is a spin-off starring Claudia Black. So I'm all for it. I'm a huge fan of hers and what she does. And it looks decent. Being somebody who hasn't played the whole Uncharted series, I should say. I played like the first 2 games. I haven't really beat the third. Didn't play the fourth, and I don't know where it's at now as far as the story. But being somebody who's not a fan of it, this one looks decent because I'm tired of seeing Nathan Drake. I love his character, don't get me wrong, but it's like, we're on game number 5. It's like, come on now. There's only so much roguish, Han Solo-ish stuff, I can take YouTube. Like, give me something new. Come on. And I did like a Claudius Black character in the other game, so I'm probably going to pick this one up and play it just because it's from her experience. I don't know if this is a prequel or sequel. I didn't read that too much into it, but I'm probably going to pick it up anyways. They also had, I guess, Horizon Zero Dawn DLC coming out called The Frozen Wilds. I'm probably going to get that and play it. I love Horizon. I wish it was bigger and better. I wish it had more popular opinion and everything like that, but it seems to be doing alright for itself. So that's like one of Sony's games where, you know, that they put out this year that's exceeded all expectations. So Days Gone, another game that's big on a lot of people's radar, is the whole zombie style game that everybody looks, thinks is, thought was The Last of Us when they came out with it. For this game, I don't know how I feel about it, only because I'm not like most people. I'm not big into zombies. You know what I'm saying? I played the Walking Dead video games. I've tried to watch the TV show. I've played other zombie games, since they put them in video games like every damn year. I'm just not a fan of that. I'm more of a sci-fi fan. So, but Days Gone, it looks like it's piqued my interest. Let me just say that. It feels like it reminds me of The Last of Us, and I'm just like with everybody else. Days Gone feels like The Last of Us with actual zombies. I don't know why, and the fact that it's like open world, I think you can do what you want. It's not a linear experience, I don't think it is. But it looks damn good, and it looks incredibly cinematic. For those people who love that Walking Dead type feel, like the TV show of just people stuck in this situation, or one man is traveling around from place to place getting caught up in bullshit, I think people who are into that kind of sort of feel are gonna love this game. I know I'm probably going to pick it up and do an LP of it when it comes out, but it just looks damn good, YouTube. There's really nothing much I can really say about it. Especially now that you have like the running zombies like from World War Z and a few other movies and books where they have agile zombies. And then I think in this trailer that they had during their presentation, you had zombie animals. So I think it's going to be damn good. I think it's going to be damn good, YouTube. Monster Hunter is coming to consoles and PC. I think they had a trailer about that. I'm not big into Monster Hunter. I know it's been out for like 20 to 25 years. I know it's been out for a long ass time. But it's one of those Japanese RPG games that I've just never really jumped into. But after seeing the trailer, I think this is going to be like the first open world Monster Hunter game that they're coming out with. I could be wrong about that. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the series like that, but again, another game that piqued my interest. Like that game looks damn good. It reminds me of a little bit of Dragon's Dogma, the way I think they showed the main character, or at least I think it's the main character, jumping on this creature and fighting him with a big ass cloud buster sword type thing, and it just looks damn good. It looks like you could have tons of fun in it. Definitely going to be picking that game up. Another sleeper that nobody was expecting this year that Sony put out was Shadow of the Colossus. I guess this is going to be a remake of it, or maybe like either a remake or what's the word they use nowadays when they come out with the same game? Remastered, maybe. I don't know if it's going to be a full-on remake, but I know from this article I'm reading here, it's saying it's going to be a remake. It's not going to be a remaster. It's saying it's going to be a full-on remake. So I'm guessing it's going to be, the same type of game, same animations, but different world, different graphics, all that kind of sort of stuff. Maybe in the same vein as how Microsoft did the Halo Master Chief Collection with like Halo 1. I know that was kind of like a remastering of it, but maybe it's going to be something like that where it just has better graphics but plays the same. I don't know if this is going to be that way, although this article is saying a full-on remake. So if they do a full-on remake, that means they can add more stuff into it, more, make a bigger and better world. things like that. Take advantage of the bigger and better hardware that's out now versus, let's say, like the PlayStation 2. So I think that's going to be good for that. That's another franchise that I'm not really into. Like I've I've heard about it from a lot of people, but I've never really played. I think they came out with what, 2 games? I think they came out with Shadow of Colossus 1, and I think they had a sequel which wasn't as good as part 1, but I've never played either one of them. But I know a lot of people who swear by them. That was like the first game that had like those really big creatures in it. Shadow of the Colossus was one of those games where it's kind of like Batman Arkham Asylum, like I was mentioning before. The combat in Arkham Asylum, I think, wasn't really new. It wasn't the first time that kind of system was in place, because I think you had a couple of other games before that. But that was the first game that came out with it that was so well polished. Everybody thinks back to that first Arkham game as far as like, oh, that's the reason why everybody refers to it as like the Arkham Asylum combat, system or whatever. Shadow of the Colossus, when that came out, that was like one of the first games that had big creatures that in order to beat them, you had to climb along the creatures and make your way to a certain point and then defeat them. I know after that game came out, you had a few other games that came out after that did the same thing. And prime example would be what was it? Castlevania Lords of Shadow, I believe, the first newer Castlevania game, not the second one because that was some bullshit. But the first Castlevania Lords of Shadow game that they came out with, that game had something similar where you had big creatures, you had to crawl along top of them and then kill them the same way. Games started throwing that in there because Shadow of Colossus did it, and that game was like the shit. So that's another game I'm probably going to pick it up and play since I didn't play it the first time around and do an LP of it. They also had a trailer of Call of Duty. I'm tired of COD. I'm not going to say it don't look good. It does. But that's a game I'm probably going to skip this year. Just like I skipped, I think I have, what's it called? Advanced Warfare now? Infinite Warfare, the newest one. Never played it once. It's just, I'm just so tired of COD. And even with this one, since I'm a fan of sci-fi, this one I don't even like. I'm not a fan of World War II games. Only because I like modern day weapons and tactics. I like scopes, I like long rifles, I like sniper rifles. I like all the tech that goes behind modern day weapons. And when you go back to World War II, you don't have any of that. It's all iron sights and everybody using like the same damn gun most of the time. So I'm not a fan of this. Also, I'm not a fan about, I heard people are bitching about that they have female soldiers in this one. And I'm like, why are people bitching that they have women in World War II? Like, women fought in World War II just like men did to a certain extent. Maybe not, 1-to-1 on the battlefield, but they fought in their own kind of way. So if you want to have a female soldier in your game, well, why the hell not? I do kind of, I will knock, I think what Sledgehammer's making this one, I will knock how Sledgehammer is like, how they don't have any balls. I will say that. Like, I heard that they cut out the swastika symbol. And I'm like, why? Like if you're making a period piece game and you're talking about, oh yeah, we're going to go back to being realistic a little bit. And I'm like, but yet you, as soon as you come across one major hurdle, you got to tuck your balls between your legs because, you want to cut it out. It's like, come on, man. I mean, it's just, I can't really blame them because I don't think it's them. I think it's more so Activision. They want to try to market the game to other countries, and I guess people see the swastika symbol as like the symbol for the Nazis, and that's probably because that's popular opinion, even though the swastika has been around since, before the Nazis even used it. So it's just that people just automatically assume that it's the Nazi symbol when it's this, and they try to take it out of modern day media and stuff. I remember way back when, even in anime they do it, they take it out of there because I think even in Naruto, the manga, Neji's character on his forehead in the manga, it was the swastika symbol, right? But then when they came out with the anime, which was going to be on TV, they changed it up and it was like something else. I forget what it was, but it wasn't the swastika. So I understand why they're doing it. It's just that it's one of those things where it's like, come on, man, have some balls. I'm tired of seeing companies like just go completely bitch made and just don't ever, you know, plant their feet and say, no, look, we're doing this. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Call of Duty, like I said, I'm probably not going to pick it up. It doesn't appeal to me at all. I'm not a fan of World War II and none of that stuff. So I grew up with, well, I'm not going to say I grew up with playing World War II shooters, but I remember the first generation of World War II franchise games in the early thousands, and I was tired of them then. So I don't want to see no more of them now. So the one thing I will knock Sony for, as far as their presentation, they showed a few trailers, and then you had like a section in the middle, which was them promoting PlayStation VR. And I get it. I get why they have to promote PlayStation VR and all that stuff. But it's like, it seems like you went from like, oh shit, here are these nice badass games, and then you jump down to PlayStation VR, and it kind of, everybody was like, eh. You know, it's like, I wish that they'd changed things around and started the presentation with PlayStation VR. And then when you got tired of seeing it, that's when you started seeing all the good trailers to build up your momentum as far as your excitement or your hype level. When PlayStation came out with their conference, it was like, all right, it started out on a high note. It was like, oh, this is some badass shit. And then it hit PlayStation VR and the excitement just died down. And then at the end, it picked back up with Spider-Man. So it's like you have like a middle section in there that was just dead for no reason. Again, I can understand why they're promoting it, but I just don't think it's as big as they want it to be. You had a cool few things in there, like I think you had Skyrim VR. I guess that's okay, but I'm tired of seeing Skyrim. I want the next Elder Scrolls game. Fuck Skyrim. Skyrim's been out for like damn near 10 years already. It's like, come on. I'm tired of seeing it. I put like 400 hours in it when it came out. I already beat the hell out of it back then. Why in the hell would I want to play it again on VR with probably shittier controls? They did have a military shooter game. What was it called? Bravo Team, Alpha Team, something like that. I guess that could be kind of sort of cool. I don't know. Given the controls of how PlayStation VR, from what I see on people's YouTube videos, PlayStation VR, the controls are kind of sort of shit. It's not as bad as how VR used to be, but from you always seeing the hands doing weird quirky motions and stuff, I'm just not a fan of that, YouTube. I mean, if you're gonna do VR, I want you to do VR right. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I don't think the tech is there yet. You know, I want that Minority Report feel. Give me like gloves like that, where I can, in the game, I'm holding a gun and the gloves make me feel like I'm holding something in my hands, even though I'm not. You know, give me that kind of sort of thing. That's what I want. I want tactile feedback. You also had not PlayStation fishing, but Final Fantasy. I think they had like I don't know if it's going to be DLC or whatever, but you can fish now in VR and do the whole camping stuff. I guess that's cool. That was never my thing in Final Fantasy like that. So, but I guess that's probably, I know there's that one guy who's fished all the fishing spots in the game. That's going to probably be great for him. But God of War had a really great looking trailer. I will say that. I'm probably definitely going to pick this up. I played through all of the God of War games except for the one, I think they had a spin-off game that they had, but I played 1, 2, and 3. And this one looks like it's going to be a great departure from what God of War used to be. Looks like they're taking it in a whole nother direction where it's a third-person action game. Looks like they're dealing with Nordic stuff versus Greek and Roman stuff. So it looks like it's going to be good. Curious to see. It looks like they're adding character to Kratos. Because I know in the earlier games, he was just an asshole. You know, like, oh, I'm going to take my failures out on everybody else just because I can for no specific reason. You know. So this one looks like they're going to add more character to him. He has a son now. He looks like he's coming to terms with how he used to be. But yet he also still has to raise his son. So I don't know how that's going to play a factor into it. Looks like more different. I mean, I don't know if he's killing Nordic gods in this. Maybe he's going to be fighting, you know, Thor Odinson at the end of the game. You know, maybe he's going to be able to get Mjolnir and take it to the Marvel universe. But I don't know. But it looks cool. to see what they're doing with it, and I can't wait to play that. God of War is probably between that, Spider-Man, and even though they didn't show Last of Us, and it's probably going to be my 2 favorite games, or 3 favorite games in
oh my God,
in Sony's upcoming game list here. You also had what's it called, Detroit Become Human, David Cage's new game. I want to say that I'm gonna like this game because, like I said, I'm a fan of sci-fi. I'm a fan of artificial intelligence. That's like my cup of tea. I love it. But I'm not a fan of David Cage.
You don't.
I've played all of his games, all of his recent games. Let me say that. I've seen LPs of all of his games, but I've played. Damn, I forget what the English name for it was, but it was called Fahrenheit. It was the game that he made before Heavy Rain.
Oh my God.
I forget what we called it over here in America because I think it went by 2 different names. But that game, where the main character's name was Lucas, and he got like supernatural powers about halfway through the game. I played through that one. I played Heavy Rain several times. I played. Damn, the game was so forgettable that I forget the title of it. But I played the one game after that, the one with the chick and her demonic brother spirit, you know, phasing through walls. I forget what the name of that one was. But I played through all of his games, and I'm a fan of his concept of what he wants to achieve. But as far as all of his games, they all fuck up when it comes to story. They all fall short. It's like you start off with a great premise, and then about halfway through each game, something happens, and that messes up the flow of the rest of the game. And they always have some kind of weird, creepy, pervert / vibe to them. Like, for example, in Heavy Rain, you had the 2 pseudo rape scenes of like the one main chick in the game, like when she was in her apartment and she was having dreams of people breaking into her, you know, breaking into her apartment, and she was like half naked, running around in lingerie and underwear and stuff. And it kind of came out of nowhere, didn't have nothing to do with the story. Then you have the one scene where like this other serial killer was trying to attack her, and he was like feeling her up and stuff as he was about to kill her and stuff. And the taxidermist DLC, again, completely out of nowhere, had nothing to do with the story. In the last game with the chick and her ghost spirit, you had the one creepy homeless scene that came out of nowhere that you had a second, you know, I thought for a second that it was going to say like press X to give a blowjob, because you had like a weird creepy scene like that where some guy was pulling her into a back alley and was like, you know, offering to give you money for sexual services. It's like, it has a lot of creepy scenes like that, and it's like, it's always one in every one of his games. It's weird. And it's like, it takes me out of the experience, because then up until that point, it's like, okay, it seems good. It seems like, I don't know if it's just him, because I don't know if he's the one writing the stories for his games, or if he's just the guy directing his team to make the game. But all of his games have weird, quirky moments that mess things up, and they're all story related. Like in Heavy Rain, the one thing that messed it up, besides those 2 scenes, was the story didn't make no sense. You have all of these characters, but I think that they cut out certain scenes, and then the overarching story, and it left certain plot holes. Like when you played the final product of the game, excuse me, I accidentally bumped my mic stand. Talking with my hands, YouTube, even though you can't see it. And during the game, you had certain scenes where it's like, I forgot what I was talking about. YouTuber problems. Let me see. Give me a sec, YouTube. Give me a sec. Let me think. I was talking about blowjobs and alleys, weird quirky scenes,
that the mission? That's not even
rape scenes, people getting killed. Oh yeah, the story in Heavy Rain didn't make a whole lot of sense, only because I think that they cut out certain segments, and when they did that, I guess the overarching narrative that was going to be the story didn't make sense with those scenes removed. So you had some plot holes that was left at the end, like for example, what was the main character's name? Ethan Mars. Why was he kept passing out throughout the whole game? Why did the game make you feel that he was the killer? You know, why was he getting certain knowledge that he shouldn't have? That was because that was a part of the story, and about how he was swapping memories with the one main killer guy, and you know, but at the end of the day, the game that you played didn't explain none of that shit. So it didn't make sense. So that was a plot hole. With Detroit Become Human, I'm hoping that he fixes a lot of those story-based problems that he's had in his earlier games. And I'm hoping we don't get some kind of weird Ghost in a Shell sex robot scene in the game. Although I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, I'm waiting for them to, you know, to develop sex robots in real life. I would so jump on that idea. To, like, you know, date a chick who is a robot and don't get all the baggage. But I think that it's gonna become like, I'm hoping it gets better. Like I said, I mean, I hope that they fix a lot of the same problems. That way Detroit Become Human, maybe this will be his first game that's actually the shit. Who knows? From what I've seen in the trailers and everything, it looks like it's gonna be the same kind of sort of thing. But then again, I'm probably gonna play it, so I guess we'll all see once it comes out. So I will talk about Spider-Man, but we talked about that in the beginning of the video, so I don't gotta jump back on that. But overall, Sony's conference, like I said, it was okay, but it didn't wow anybody. It didn't, you know, make people stand up and, you know, clap their hands very loud. It was just like, okay, we're seeing a bunch of stuff we already seen, and it kind of left you like, just you wanted them to do that one more thing to really kick off that wow factor, and you know, they just didn't have that. So I think their conference was okay. As far as picking one between like which one did better, Microsoft or Sony, I know most people are probably going to say Microsoft because of the new console, but to me, they both kind of feel the same. I mean, they both just felt kind of flaccid. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. So if you guys want to say anything about E3, or if you want to let me know, you know, what you thought about E3, let me know down in the comments below. Be on the lookout for the next conference video. I'm probably going to upload that maybe 2 or 3 days from now. But my name is Denonu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.